The Director of Public Prosecution, DPP Valston Graham, has discontinued the matter of bribery brought by Dr. Terence Drew against Member of Parliament Eugene Hamilton. Mr. Graham told reporters on Monday that the matter stood no reasonable chance of succeeding in court, hence the reason it was thrown out.
I would have taken over the prosecution of the private complaint that was instituted by Dr. Terence Drew against Mr. Eugene Hamilton. Having took over that prosecution, Mr. Delano Bat of Queen's Counsel provided me with the statements upon which, or the evidence upon which, founded the two prosecutions. He previously wrote to me and asked for me to give consideration of independent conduct of the prosecutions from my office. Along those lines, I decided and sought the opinion of two independent criminal prosecutors, one in the post of Dr. Henry Brown, Queen's Counsel, and also the other in the post of Mr. Orvis Sullivan, the Director of Public Prosecution of Montserrat. I received their independent opinions, and their opinions were presented unknown to each other. Based on the opinion that they would have given to me, my own review of the law and of the evidence, I came to the conclusion that the charge of bribery and the charge of cheating against Mr. Hamilton had no realistic prospect of success. In that regard, I discontinued matters before the magistrate.
Mr. Graham gave further explanation for his decision.
There are two tests the prosecutor must apply in his assessment of whether or not a prosecution should be instituted or whether or not the prosecution should continue. One is the first test. Is there a realistic prospect of success? That is, can a reasonable magistrate or jury, properly directed on the law, come to the conclusion that the person might be convicted? If that test succeeds, then I go on to ask the second test, the public interest test. Is it in the public interest that the matter should be prosecuted? The more serious the matter, the more likely that the matter should be prosecuted. If the realistic prospect of conviction test fails, then there is no need to continue to consider the public interest test. In this case, both independent opinion form that view. I am not bound by their opinion, because to be bound by their opinion will fetter my own constitutional discretion. I consider their opinion, and having considered the opinion, I did my own independent assessment of the evidence, consider the law and the matter, and then the code for public prosecutors, and then I came to the conclusion that neither charge there was a realistic prospect of a conviction, and I discontinued the matters.
Meanwhile, the DPP said while it was not illegal for gifts to be given to constituents by parliamentary representatives or candidates in an election, it is the intent of the gift that constitutes a criminal offense.
There is nothing illegal about a candidate or a member giving a constituent a gift. I think that's something that needs to be understood. So any member, whether during political season or otherwise, can give a gift. It's the intent to which that gift is given that creates the criminality. If the gift is given with an intent to influence the voter in terms of how to vote or not to vote, that is what creates the issue of bribery. And insofar as cheating is concerned, the evidence simply did not support any cheating. So in terms of general conduct of election, that was not part of my consideration. I consider that to be irrelevant to my consideration. My consideration was grounded strictly on the evidence and on the law and on the code for public prosecutors. And on all three fronts, I found the case as wanted.
The DPP said while his decision is not appealable, it can be subjected to judicial review. Efforts to reach Mr. Hamilton or Dr. Drew on Monday were unsuccessful. The DPP had taken over the criminal case brought by St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party chairman Dr. Terence Drew against the People's Action Movement's Eugene Hamilton, alleging, among other things, bribery. At the time the matter was taken over by the DPP, Dr. Drew's legal team expressed reservations about the DPP's decision and statements he made at a press conference claiming that his actions caused doubt in his independence to take over the case.